Recorded.
All right, shalom alaikum once again, shalom, and welcome to another one of our revelations, our celestial testimonies that are scheduled today, the last days, to reveal some more secrets. Secrets have been kept for over 2,025 years now, and that is from the crucifixion, the so-called crucifixion of the Christ. Of course, we are in the last days, and it was promised that today, when the Christ returns, he will reveal those secrets that were taught to him in secret. We're going to show you a video recording of that was recorded back in 1986 in the Temple of Love here in Miami, Florida, where we are right now. I am your host. I'm known in the biblical history, the archives. I'm also known in all the Bibles as Micah, the book that's called Micah, M-I-C-A-H in English. Also, according to verse 1 of Micah, that book, they added the Morasite, supposedly as they printed in the Bible, that Micah came from Moresheth Gath, and that is not true. I'm here today to testify to you and to reveal to you the truth. And when you read Micah chapter 5 and verse 2, it tells you where Micah come from, and it's not Moresheth Gath. In Micah chapter 5, it tells you that Micah come from everlasting. And that's where Micah come from, and that is where I come from, with my father, Ma'ab. I am from Ma'ab. We came down from everlasting to get our angels, to collect our angels, those that are of and from the Celestial Lodge. So again, I'm your host. I'm known as Micah, although at one point in history it was known as Micah Yahweh in English transliteration, or Mem Yod Kaf Yod Hid Wav He in Hebrew. That's 5 Hebrew characters and 2 of the 5 positioned twice. And they are, again, from right to left. Mem Yod Kaf Yod He Wav He. And that's, in English, that's Micah Yahweh. And throughout history, they have taken it upon themselves to cut off the Yod Hid Wav He, which is a theophoric extension, and they left the world with only Micah, also known after transliteration as Mikael, with the theophoric extension missing, which is just Elohim, Micah Elohim, or Michael Elohim, Mikael. As I said a moment ago, I come from everlasting with my father. My father, Ma'ab in Hebrew. You're going to see that again shortly, H1 in your concordance. Speaking of concordance, grab hold to a Bible. It doesn't matter which one. They're all obsolete. Grab hold to a Bible. The most common that we've been using is the King James Version, but you can get the NKJV, the NLT, the NIV, the CBS, ABC, whatever Bible that they have on the market today. You can grab hold to it and follow as closely as you can on what I'm going to reveal. And grab hold to a strong concordance. If you have one, a strong exhaustive concordance, grab hold to a dictionary, if you have 2, and grab hold to a synonym finder. A lot of words that are translated from Hebrew and Hebraic and Greek are also synonymous. They have synonyms that are affiliated with the meaning of the word. And we're going to explain one of those words with you that is in history in the book called Revelation. In particular, the word known as cast. We're going to share that with you. So a synonym finder in the dictionary is most certainly going to be needed when I reveal that mystery and that secret to you. Also, get a set of encyclopedias because we're going to look up a particular plant and revelation of the secret and historical plant that was here from the beginning in the garden. That's going to be a shock to you on how that plant came into history and what part it took in the Garden of Eden with the woman and the man, as well as the serpent. So grab hold of that. And most importantly, I always ask you to grab hold to a writing utensil, grab hold to something to write with, and something to write on and take plenty of notes, like I have here. See, this is a composition book. So grab something to write with, like an ink pen. I have an ink pen. And I took notes, so you take notes. As I was saying a moment ago, my father, I come from him. He was known, you're going to see a video recording of him, like I mentioned a moment ago, that was recorded in 1986 in the Temple of Love International Headquarters that's located right here in Miami, Florida. And during that interview, that was by a group of Time magazine scribes or reporters, should you prefer. He revealed to them something that was actually a preview that was scheduled to take place today at my return. When I say return, not only my return during this era of prophecy from 1954, but my return to this country that's known as North America, the United States of North America, in 2007, which was exactly 120 days before he ascended that terrestrial vessel that he used for 72 years, before he ascended away out of that vessel. And by the way, that terrestrial vessel that he used, he had cremated by his will, by his command. After he ascended, he ordered those who were responsible to have that vessel, that terrestrial vessel, cremated. And I have documents on that as proof. I have a death certificate, a so-called death certificate, according to the state of Florida, in care of the state of Florida, that shows on that death certificate that that body was cremated. So for all of you, of my people, that are still looking for that particular vessel to return to you in the same condition that you saw him in the 1980s, then it is seriously considered and recommended for you to wake up, or wake out of your deep spirit of fantasy, your fantasy world of deep sleep. But you are fantasizing. In fact, you are hallucinating. So you need to come out of that and hurry and wake up before it's too late. It's almost too late. But as I said, I come from him. I was sent to you from him. I was literally and prophetically fulfilled, or prophecy fulfilled, of sent. I was sent to you from him in 1992 while he was incarcerated in TGK, which is Turner Guilford and Knight Correctional Institute of Miami-Dade County Corrections, or also known as jail. I was sent to you from him in 1992 to fulfill prophecy. I am the one that was sent from God. And during that same month, in September of 1992, I wrote a book according to and as a result of his command to me to study my name. And when I study my name, I would then find out and discover how my name is connected to his name. And it was very important for you to do that, according to another recording that he made, an audio recording that he made while he was incarcerated in 1992, earlier that year, 1992, sometime around January of 1992. He made an audio recording. And in that audio recording, he also insisted that you study your name, the knowledge of your name, as he instructed me, and I did. And that's the only way you're going to meet him, And the only way you're going to stand with him in Galilee is to study the meaning and the knowledge of your name, your Hebrew name, not your slave master's name, not that English name that you are still bearing, but your Hebrew name. And if you don't have a Hebrew name, then you are still lost, and you need to know your Hebrew name. I possess that power in my soul, and I have your Hebrew name in my soul. I am the one who named you, according to the book called Genesis, chapter 2, and verse 19, verse 18, 19, 20. I'm the one who named you. So I have your name. And that's also according to Daniel chapter 12 and verse 1. All those who are found written in the book will be delivered. And if your name is not written in the book, the Lamb's book of life, then you're not going to be delivered. Or you're not going to be saved, whichever you prefer. It's both. When he ordered me to study my name, I did, and I found out how my name was connected to his ineffable name, which is not, it is not Yahweh. I can guarantee you that. I assure you of that. My father's name is not Yahweh. He is not the God of England. Neither is his name Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh. That's the Tetragrammaton. That bears a meaning of 4 positions. So that is not his name. But I found his name. And when I found his name, I found my name. When I found my name, I found out how my name is connected to his name and how I am connected to him as he said I would. And now I know who I am, as you do not know who I am. Some do know who I am. But if you do not know who I am, then you will at the end of this testimony that we're going to show you in a few moments. I'm going to reveal secrets that only I would know, as I was taught by him in secret over 2,024 years ago. In the meantime, after I wrote my name back in 1992, I wrote and studied my name. I also wrote a book as he commanded me to do. I wrote a book, and I sent that book into the Peace Foundation as he commanded me to do. But when I sent that book in as a transcript of about close to 300 pages of typing paper, I titled that book Micah, and that's the English spelling, M-I-C-A-H, from left to right, Micah. However, when it landed in his hands while he was incarcerated, and he read that book, he read it and he edited that book. He edited pages in that book, and there may have been a few typos because I'm not perfect when it comes to typing. But when he edited that book, he read it, and then he titled it. He titled that book, and the title that you see behind me, that's the book. He titled that book, and I quote, I bear witness of the Son, Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh, end quote. And the I, which is what you think is I, Roman numeral 1, that's known in the English alphabet as the 9th letter of their alphabet or letters. The I in that title is my father, my who many are still calling today Yahweh ben Yahweh. So in other words, when my father, who at the time was known as being called in this country by this government as Yahweh ben Yahweh, he's the I of that title. So what you're failing to realize and what you do not know is that Yahweh ben Yahweh said that he bear witness of the Son, Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh, which is Micah. Now, I'm not here to convince you of that or try to encourage you to believe that, but it is true, nevertheless. Now, with that said, we don't want to take up too much of your time. I'm going to now share with you and reveal some secrets that I was promised I would do. But for the record, so you'll know, today is known by 2 Hebrew calendars, the old Hebrew calendar and the present Hebrew calendar. The old Hebrew calendar is by the prophets, according to how they wrote in the scrolls. But the new Hebrew calendar is solar, the solar calendar. You could also say it was old, but now the solar calendar represents the sun, which is S-U-N, symbolic for the sun, S-O-N. Since the sun is here, we have a new calendar. Why is that? Because I also fulfilled prophecy in Matthew chapter 24. Matthew chapter 24 also indicates the last days, what will happen in the last days, but also in that book, at Matthew chapter 24, it promised that some days would be shortened. Now, you don't know what that meant. And all the theologians throughout history, when they translated that, they had no idea what that meant. But what that meant was, and what it means now is, that the Romans would come along throughout time during history, and they would add 5 days onto our old Hebrew calendar. And those 5 days extended the 360-degree circle into 365 more days of their calendar, 365. So it was promised that I would come along and revive our new Hebrew calendar to return back to its original 360 days in a cycle. That means we have 12 months, just like they have 12 months on their calendar, we have 12 months on our calendar, which is the original calendar. And each one of our months have exactly 30 days. That's 12. And when you do your math, you discover that 12 times 30 is 360. So it's promised in Matthew chapter 24 that I would shorten those days. And what days? The 3 to 5 days. I would shorten those 5 days back and take them away and bring our calendar back into its proper existence of time that's ruled by the sun, a 360-degree cycle. That means we never have a new year. We just repeat the same time, the same cycle. We go from 1 to 359. And once we reach 359 at a certain sundown, then we come right back to 360 and start the cycle again. So there's no such thing for us as a new year. There's nothing new under the sun. And that's the mystery of that. There is nothing new under the sun. That mystery is under what sun? The time. There's nothing new under the time that's being ruled by the sun. It's a complete cycle. It's just a repeat cycle, Nothing new, no new year. Besides, my father and myself, we both say we hate the new moons and the appointed feasts, according to Isaiah chapter 1, beginning at around verse 12. The new moons and your appointed feasts, your call of assemblies, my soul hateth. So what do we look like celebrating the new year? Since my soul hateth it. Praise you. I had to make that clear. So again, our calendar, which is the first calendar, today is known as the 10th day. This is the 10th day of the 9th month. Today is now the 10th day of our 9th month, and our solar year is 6027. I repeat, this is now the 10th day of the 9th month of our solar year, 6027. Now, according to their calendar, which was revived from the Julian calendar, the Julius calendar, Julius Caesar calendar is now revived by Pope Gregory XIII. By that calendar, today is known as their week, Thursday, November 21, the 21st day of November of that calendar on Thursday. And the year is 2024. That's 2024 years after the crucifixion, the so-called crucifixion of Christ, or AD if you prefer, after death. So that's what the day is on that calendar, also known as Thursday of that week. That week begins, some of their calendar says that the week begins on Sunday, and some says the week begins on Monday. If you look at the United States calendar tells you that their week starts on Sunday. But when you look at a Great Britain calendar, it tells you that their week starts on a Monday. So who or what are you going to believe? Neither one. It doesn't matter. They have a week, and their week starts, it begins because it also ends. Our week never ends. Our week never ends. That's why it's governed by 8. You may have heard once upon a time, on a video doing a class back in the 80s, 1980s, said, how would you like to be with me or I entertain you 8 days a night? 8 days a night. That was a hint that our time is governed through infinity, which is 8. That's 2 zeros, by the way. 8 is not numeric. You may think it's 8. But it's actually 2 360-degree circles connected together, standing perpendicular, straight up. 8. Two circles. One circle to the top, one circle to the bottom. That's a wheel, like a wheel in the middle of a wheel, one wheel upon the earth and one wheel upon the heavens. One wheel up, one wheel down. That wheel up is my arm in heaven. The wheel down is me right here on the earth. Two wheels connected together is 8. That's from everlasting, also known as infinity. That's what that means. So there's nothing new. We never end. So with that said, again, let's, for the record, remind you that today is Thursday, November 21, 2024 on the calendar. Speaking of November 21, many people, many of those who are here today, I mean today, not back in the 80s. Those in the 80s, most of them are not here anymore. They have succumbed now to the second death, according to Revelation chapter 21, verse 8. Right? It was non-believers, whoremongers, idolaters, sorcerers. So, as promised, Revelation chapter 21 and verse 8 took them out. And the same thing is going to happen to you if you're a non-believer, or if you are a sorcerer or a whoremonger or an idolater. You just sit back and wait. It's going to come for you too. The second death is going to come and scoop you right up too. That's a promise. It's prophetical. Can't change that. But let me remind you that earlier this month, known as November of their calendar, in fact, on I believe it was the 15th day of November, on the 15th day of November, I posted something on social media's Facebook that was relative to a so-called tropical storm, tropical depression, also known to become hurricanes, of the meteorologists or the almanacs of this world, of the seasons. A hurricane, in the Bible known as a whirlwind. So I'm going to make an emphasis right now to those who have titled me and colored me as being false, a false prophet. Although I'm not really subject to prove anything, but I'm just going to, for the sake of those who may not have never seen me before or know who I am, that on November 15th, I believe sometime around 10:09 in the a.m., I posted something on social media, and I'm going to share it with you. You take a look. I posted first 2 photo images connected together that I recorded from the television of weather reports, weather forecast reports that was subject of a whirlwind that they named Sarah, S-A-R-A, without the H, Sarah. And if you go back to my Facebook timeline and the archives, you would find that. And I'm just going to repeat something that I printed in the report section of that timeline post I posted. I'm not going to read this entirety. I want you to just focus on the last 2 paragraphs. And I believe I typed something like this on Friday, November 15, 2024. Well, how about the second photo, that is, of the male meteorologist, of which I'm quoting, of which was broadcast about an hour or so ago today, Friday, November 15, 2024. And as ye should see, the so-called tracking cone is now focused on Central to North Florida, parentheses, quote unquote. I went on to type, not type, and follow along as I read. Or how about what they are predicting do not come to pass at all? And please take note of how I spelled come with a K opposed to a C. Why is that? Because it was also prophesied that when the Christ returns and revealed and loosed the seals of the book called Revelation, and by the way, there's 404 seals in the book called Revelation. That's 404. It's not 7. That's 404. The 7 seals of the book called Micah. But the seals of Revelation are 404, and only the Christ can loose all 404 of those seals that are combining and keeping the book called Revelation together. Those seals, also known as synonymous, I told you to synonym finder. Those seals are also known as verses in the Bible. So there are 404 verses or seals in the book called Revelation. And by the way, Revelation is not it's not part of the New Testament. They just placed it in the back of the Bible to represent the last days. So they placed it last in the Bible to represent and symbolize the last days. So in that book called Revelation, it was promised that only the Christ would be able to loose the seals. And one of those seals is in Revelation chapter 21 and verse 3, that promised that there would be no more sea. That C is a homophone that represents the third letter of the English's letters. So that C, there's no more. And only the Christ would come along in the last days and use K opposed to C or an S opposed to C. So that K or ME means come to pass at all. So how about what they are predicting do not come to pass at all? And what is now, or what used to be, will become nothing, no more at all, even never. In other words, Sarah died at a good old age. 127 years, you can now change it to 127 hours after it was formed on November 14th. Why is that? Because on November the 17th, that storm was written off that they call Sarah. That means what they predicted, and even the path, the projection to come over Miami first, and then Central Florida, and then North Florida, it never happened. Just as I prophesied that I would make Sarah just dissipate and go away and not be at all, no more, never. And that's exactly what happened. And just in case you did not know it, a false prophet cannot prophesy for a storm that's predicted to form and come over the Gulf of Mexico and hit Florida. A false prophet cannot predict that it would never do that or go away and don't be at all. So do your homework and you be the judge, but judge not that you be judged. Since you have a mote in your eye, why you are going to try and get beams out of someone else's eye? But get the beam out of your eye before you mess with the mote out of your eye, or get the mote out of your eye before you check on the beam of someone else's eye. Because I am not the one to play with. I do not play. That means you better study Nahum chapter 1, beginning at verses 2 through 15 real hard. But before you do that, study your name, as my father said you should. So you may wake up. You may find yourself waking up and realize who's here speaking with you right now in this video. In the meantime, let's show you something else, some more secrets. In fact, let's go to, since we're on that, let's go to the YouTube. Let's go to YouTube and let's hear this little segment of that video interview recording that I mentioned a moment ago, that my father was being interviewed on recording by some scribe before this from Time Magazine from New York. They flew down from New York just to have a moment with him that day. So let's hear that. Let's see what let's hear that.
Had to become clever, adroit, sagacious, etc. in the ism of John. That made him an if. That's why he was called John the Baptist. See, he came to be in the knowledge of Yahweh, and he then subsequently became apt in the ism, which is the dogma and the law of Yahweh. So since John was the one that was the prophet, Then the man that was called Jesus was baptized by him. That made him a student and a disciple of John, not the one. And when he attempted to assume the mantle of the one, he began to teach secrets that were not to be taught until the time of the one to come. He was 2,000 years, well, 1,900 years earlier of his coming. And when he began to reveal the knowledge of who Satan was, John 8:44, when he began to reveal the knowledge of the Son, the knowledge of whose right to rule it was, he could not afford to be left alive. So for breaking the secret, for teaching the secret that he had learned in secret, he was killed for. And that's why he was hung in his shorts without any clothes on, because he was initiated in that manner. That's why his collarbone was broken and his head was hung to the side. See? Because that's a sign that all men who study in secret understand quite well. I'm the only one to make them.
Okay. Now you heard for yourself in that video recording. I heard my father say that the one that is called Jesus, remember his name was Yahshua. You can go back to that part on your own. It's about 25 minutes into that video recording. You can find it on YouTube, as we just shared with you, that where it's found. It's titled Time Interview, Yahweh Time Interview. But as you heard him say, that he was taught, the one that was called Jesus, his name was Yahshua, he was taught in secret. And he began to reveal secrets. And if you go back and hear it, you'll hear him say he was 2,000 years, well, 1,900 years too early. That was another hint. Keeping in mind that that recording was being recorded in 1986. That's the 1900s, 86. So why would my father say 2,000 years too early? Another hint. At that time, they did not realize it, but he was telling them that the Christ who they're looking for, you wouldn't see him until after the year 2000. Remember, in the year 2000, my father was still in Lewisburg prison, penitentiary up in Pennsylvania. So it could not have been him in the year after 2000. And then not only that, after 2000, he was not allowed to return back to his congregation or his followers, according to the onerous rule that the U.S. government placed upon him. If he violated that onerous rule, they would put him back in prison. So it could have been him that was revealing secrets, and all the recordings that he made from the early 1980s, even during his incarceration, he made audio cassette players, tapes, and video. Well, not video, but he made audio cassette tapes in prison. Of all of those that he made, he did not reveal secrets to reveal who Satan is, whose right to rule it is or was. My father didn't even reveal the secret of the meaning of ye, Y-E, and you, Y-O-U. He didn't even reveal that. He left all of that for me to do. Why? Because it was a secret. It was secrets. He didn't reveal the secrets of the difference between the C, no more SEA, homophone, letter C of the English alphabet. Yeah, he didn't reveal the meaning of, or the secret of understand, opposed to comprehend. He did not reveal the secret of love, L-O-V-E, opposed to ahab. He didn't reveal the secret of ani, opposed to anarchy. And it goes on, the list goes on and on and on, just to name a few. Neither did he reveal the secret of who Satan is or whose right to rule it was. Now, he did write a book on Satan Revealed, but he didn't reveal who Satan is. Why? Because for thousands of years now, the world has been led to believe that Lucifer, Kal-El, is Satan, but he's not. And he was not. He is here today, but he is not. He is not Satan. It's not his right to rule. He may have been elected as president right now of the United States, also known in biblical or the idiom as Pharaoh or a king. The word Pharaoh in the Bible means king anyway. It doesn't mean, it's not a name of a person, it's a title of a position. And although he was elected a couple of weeks ago, president-elect, sometime around November 4th, I believe it was, of this month, he's not Satan. He's the great dragon. He's that old serpent. He's the old serpent, the great dragon, called the devil. And Satan is with him. That's why you have and Satan, because they both will be here in the last days. I am not in secrets. So you have both that old serpent called the devil, the great dragon. That great dragon, the old serpent called the devil, is here. He's also here with Satan and Satan. They are both here. I'm going to reveal the secret. You also heard my Ob say that as I began to reveal secrets too early, I could not afford to be left alive. So I was killed for it. Home in my shorts. That means naked. I was stripped naked. Now, let's prove that that was Micah. I left word that I would go stripped and naked. So go to your Bible, go to the Bible for a moment, and go to Micah chapter 1. I'm going to do the same. Micah chapter 1. And I'm going to read, as I go with you, I'm going to read with you Micah chapter 1. And I'm going to read along the start. I'm just going to read verse 8. I'm going to read verse 8. Micah chapter. See, Micah, the book of, remember the book called Micah, based on scrolls that they found in the archives. Some of the Dead Sea Scrolls. But, Micah wrote the book. Micah wrote the scrolls. He wrote them originally in Hebraic, a Hebrew manuscript. Just like I wrote the book today. I bear witness of the Son. Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh. So, in Micah chapter 1, in verse 8, and I quote, it reads, "Therefore, I will wail and howl. I will go stripped and naked." And that's a colon after naked. That means what precedes that, what precedes the colon is prophetical, because that is proven by I will. I will twice. But we want you to recognize is naked and stripped, as well as howl. Howl is with hey. We remove the H for hey. Hey created the H of the English alphabet. Hey, the fifth Hebrew symbol or character, created the English's H. And remove that H, and you have owl. You have owl, that's wisdom. And when you look at whale, that whale is a homophone or a synonym for whale. You have W-A-I-L, which is a homophone or synonym for, or antonym for W-A-L-E, or W-H-A-L-E, which is the whale of Jonah. I mean, this whale is representing the United States today. It's a great big whale, a big fish, where Judah is now in the belly of that whale. So I mean, I would be with Judah in the belly of a whale, and I would be wise as the owl, but I would howl. I would have the H. That H also is hidden here, that it took off of Judah in Hebrews chapter 7, verse 14. When you look at Hebrews chapter 7, verse 14, you'll find Judah there, and they didn't put the H at the end of Judah. Well, here's the H that they hid, that I hid in howl with owl. Secrets. It also says, I will go stripped and naked. That's the crucifixion. I mean, I will also go stripped and naked from my culture. When I'm with Judah in the belly of the whale, I will be stripped of my culture and be wearing Western wear. And I will also, at one time, my hair will be short. That's with the slave master's appearance. I will be incognito with short hair. But after I come out of the belly of the whale, after the whale spit me out, which they have, it's called, I retired from the government as an employee of the whale. They spit me out. Once that whale spit me out, then my hair would grow back the way it was over 2,024 years ago. And that's how I would make a wailing like the dragons. See a wailing like the dragons? And mourning as the owls. Now you see the H is now removed from the howls because now Judah is back and knowing who they are. So the H is now removed from the owls, and there's more than one because there's more than one Yehudite. Praise Yahweh. You didn't know that. But here's the mystery of when my op said I was stripped and hung, head, collarbone, tilted to the side. Why? Because everything that was in my head was put to the side for me to bring out later. So now I'm bringing it back from the side, and my head is now straight up. My collarbone is no longer broken. You also heard him say that I would know whose right to rule it is. So let's go back and see who that is. Let me reveal who Satan is. When I begin to reveal who Satan is, remember you have that old serpent. In fact, go to Revelation for a moment. Let's show them that. Go to Revelation chapter 12. Revelation chapter 12. And let's look at verse 9. Revelation chapter 12 and verse 9. I'm going to read that. Revelation chapter 12 and verse 9 says, and I quote, and the great dragon, let's make America great again. Why do you think the red great dragon, the red Republican, see, he was publican. Back in the days, he was publican, just publican. And now here he is back again today. So he resurfaced. He resurfaced out of the bottomless pit, the great dragon. He resurfaced. So since he resurfaced as a publican, he is now a republican. He resurfaced. He resurfaced. He's Republican, the great red dragon. Let's make America great again. And notice he didn't say North America, it's just America. Do you know that America is three parts? Did you know that? You have North America, Central America, and South America. He wants to rule all three as a dictator. One dictator to rule the world. He wants to really rule the world, the great dragon. But it's not his right. Why? Because, see, the great dragon was cast out. That old serpent called the devil, comma. Now, if that was a part of him, if Satan was a part of him, then they would not have put a comma after devil. Why? Because usually when the conjunction and is placed between two words, there's no comma. You know that. You learned it in element school. So, what's the cast? This cast, or cast out, and you're going to go to it in historical concordance. This cast bears several meanings. It's also a metaphor. It's a metaphor. It's also literal. That means when the great dragon is Republican again, when he's re-elected, he would bring about his cast. He would bring his cast out. His cast would be among other people, but he would bring them out. He would choose his cast. It's also called administration. Let's prove it. Go to your Strong's Concordance and just type in, and you go to, type in cast. Go to your concordance. Like I mentioned, you should grab hold to one. If you don't, then we're going to share ours with you. We have one we're going to share with you. A Strong Concordance. And when you type in CAST from left to right, CAST, you have cast. If you did it correctly, you should see cast is printed in the King James Version Bible 501 times. It's also found printed in 474 verses out of the 501 times. And when you look at other Bibles, I'm just going to give you an idea. Like, for example, when you go to the LSB Bible, cast is found 193 times and printed in 187 verses. That's why I said you can grab any Bible. Another Bible, look at the New King James Version, the NKJV, when you type in cast. That's found only 323 times and 307 verses. And when you look at the NLT Bible, and it's put in cast, that's only 80 times and 80 verses. So, and finally, when you look at another popular one is the NIV Bible. When you look at the NIV Bible and type in cast, that's only 79 times. And these are Bibles that were created and made by mankind. Supposedly, they bear translations of the scrolls, the Hebrew scrolls. So that means that this cast cannot be literal, like what you thought it was. That's cast out, like you cast a stone into the water below. Or you cast someone out of your house. I'm casting you out. No, Hollywood has cast. Every movie that Hollywood made have casts, has a cast. Let's go back now to the KJV, the most popular is number 1, where there's found, again, 501 times the word cast in English. So this cast in English from original Hebrew, let's look at a Hebrew cast. Let's go to, let's look at H51. Actually H5375. Let's see, what verse will we find that in? What book and verse we'll find a H5375. We may not find the first column. 5375 is what we want. So let's see where we can find one. I'm sure it's one here, 5375 cast. You can find it much faster in the book itself opposed to online. 5375. It's not in the second column. I mean, you don't want to take up too much of your time. You're just bringing out the truth so you can know how to change the truth of God into a lie, and how to get your English mindset out of her, come out of her, my people. Come back to your original Hebrew self. I'm going to take a look at, and just for the sake of our schedule, just go to your search box and type in H5375, because it's a lot of columns. That's 501 times. We don't want to go and take up too much of that. H5375 in your search box. It takes you to cast. H5375 in the KJ version, the KJV. Now, when you go to H5375 in the KJV, it takes you to the Hebrew word known as NASA. Almost like NASA of the United States Aerospace Center program, spacecrafts, NASA. NASA is spelled from right to left. Nun, Sin, Aleph, NASA. And there's no etymology. But if you look at the meanings of this Hebrew word, original, that produced cast, it takes you to the meaning of to carry. To carry, in your pial meaning, to carry and to bear continuously. That's cast. It has nothing to do with casting someone out of the house or be cast out of prison or cast out of your job or employment, cast out of the building. It also bears the meaning of to cause to bring or have brought. It also bears the meaning, if you look very closely at this meaning, and the pial meaning, it means to lift up, exalt, support, aid, and assist. So this cast, going back now to Revelation chapter 12, verse 9, this great dragon was cast out. He was cast out into the election to bear continuously a position that he bared before, which was president. So here he is back again continuously as he was cast out. And you also, by doing that, by bringing him back, you cast your vote. See? You cast your vote to cast the great dragon out and bring him back continuously into office of the President of the United States. And with him, that's where you have the and conjunction, you have Satan and Satan. And how does Satan, which deceiveth the whole world, how does Satan deceive the whole world? Because no one knew who he was as Satan. They just thought he was just Junior. They thought that Satan was just Lucifer. They didn't know that Lucifer had a son. Hallel had a son named Cain, named after him. Today, Lucifer, Hallel, has a son named after him. Whose right to rule it is. See, this was a secret. I'm bringing about the secrets. That's why you have and Satan, and they're right together. Hallel and Satan, senior and junior, which deceived the whole world. See, he was out into the earth. I mean, he is now doing public announcements and public affairs, public relations. He's bringing that into the earth of the people. He wants to become a part, and he will become a part of his father's administration. Why? Because he is of his father, the devil. See? In fact, see, when you go back to that recording, you'll hear my father say, when he began to reveal secrets on who's right to rule it, who Satan is. And he mentioned John 8:44. So let's pause it for a moment. Let's go to John 8:44. John chapter 8. Just go back, keep a marker on Revelation and go back to the book called John. He mentioned John 8:44. So let's go to John chapter 8 and verse 44. And here is what that reads. I quote, "Ye of your father the devil." Why ye? Because he was back in the east in the garden with his father. That E, see the Y represents the life, the Yod is life. And that life is with E. So he was with the E, he was with life in the garden, in the east. How is that? Because the Y is also the tree of life. Don't you see how Y is shaped like a tree? That's Y, it's a symbol. The tree in the east. Ye, you were with the tree in the east, but he's with the tree of evil. He comes from the tree of evil. Ye are of your father the devil. See? This could only be talking and speaking of Cain. And the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning and abode not in the truth. So who was a murderer from the beginning? Cain. Cain is recorded to be the only one back in the book called Genesis before the flood that murdered someone. Who? Abel, his half-brother. That means Cain have a lot of devils with him today. And those devils are also black as ye, because they were back in the east with the tree of life. Ye are of your father the devil. The lust of your father you will do. He was a murderer from the beginning and abode not in the truth, because he's a liar. Where's your brother? Abel, your brother's blood cried unto me, cried out to me. I heard it. I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper? It's a liar. Where do you think he learned to lie from? Senior. Senior is a greater liar than the junior. Right, because there's no truth in him. He abode not in the truth. There is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own. His own is what? His own loins. He speaketh of his own father, his own son. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own. That means he is a liar and the father of it. And there it is. He's the father of the liar. Who? Lucifer and Cain. Like father, like son. Now go back to Revelation chapter 12. Now you know I'm revealing secrets. I was 2,000 years, well, 1,900 years too early. But now I'm right on time. Revelation chapter 12. Continue on in verse 9. You have Satan, which is with the whole world. See, he was cast out to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Who? Hallel. That means that's the administration. His angels were cast out with him. So now, how is that cast out with him? How the angels are cast out with him? Well, this cast is a New Testament, so-called New Testament. Although they put the book called Revelation in the New Testament, they gave you a Greek meaning. So now go to G for Greek, 906. Reference G, 906. You can come out of NASA and just type in G 906. And as you do, it takes you to the Greek word balo. And this Greek word balo for cast, but no etymology. It means, follow this now, it means to put into position. To put into, see, to put into what? Into position. What? His cabinet, his administration. It also means to insert what? Insert secretaries into their positions of his cabinet, his administration. And that's what he's doing now. Prior to January 20th, 2025, he is putting together his cast. His cast. They were cast out with him. You didn't know. If you knew what this meant, then you would have loosed the seal. How could it be a secret if you thought that this cast means cast out, as I led some to believe a few years ago, like back in 2021, January 20th, 2021, when they thought he was cast out of the White House. Well, if that's the case, he would have been back there now, or going back, supposedly. At least today, November 21, 2024, he's scheduled to go back into the White House, the Oval Office, and all of my people that voted for him. I'm trying to find some remorse in my soul to feel sorry for you. And I still cannot find it. I said it a couple weeks ago, I still cannot find it. Even the Latinos, you voted for him. And you put his cast right back into the White House with him. They were cast out. His cast. Even the Secretary of Defense. The Secretary of State, that's also Latino, supposedly expected. I wonder, is he going to have relatives be deported back to Cuba? The Secretary of State, Rubio. I wonder, will his relatives will be affected in this massive deportation that's scheduled to take place after he raises his right hand and lowered on January 20th, placed on the Bible. Same King James Version Bible that's actually break out. Either one, doesn't matter what Bible, most popular. I wonder, all those Latinos that are in Washington District of Columbia, will your relatives be deported back to Spain or Cuba or Venezuela, Mexico, Brazil, Dominican Republic? Will they be deported back? I wonder, even if they've been here for 20 years. It's not my subject. I just want to bring that to your attention that you have no idea what you've done. I'm revealing who Satan is and whose right to rule it is. Now, let's prove that. Let's go back now to the book called Genesis. The first book is Genesis. There's no, see, I'm the only one. My father did not correct that. Neither did he reveal it, that there is no J in Hebrew of Genesis. I mean, that G is not pronounced with a G. It's come from Gimel, the third Hebrew alphabet or character, Gimel. So let's go to Genesis. It's like a Guinness beer or the Guinness World Book of Records. Genesis, chapter 3. And let's prove it. Let's see who is who. Let's see how Cain came about from Hillel, his father. It's Genesis chapter 3. And I'm going to start at verse 1. And we got the old serpent. Verse 1. As I quote, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, yeah, hath God said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? Now, here's a secret. See, first of all, you have to realize that this is Lord in all caps and followed by God with a capital G, lowercase o-d. That means that this is the Son that was with God. That's the big God and little God, but this represents the little God, the other one, the Son of God. Why is that? Because the Son of God, gave the law. And that's what he said. You shall not eat of every tree of the garden. So he gave the woman and the man the law. The first man, who they called the Bible Adam, he gave them the law. Don't touch that tree in the midst of the garden. And the woman said unto the serpent, I mean, she's speaking Hebrew fluently, and the serpent is speaking Hebrew fluently. This is Hebrew. It's no snake. There's no snake that you see at the zoo or found in your backyard in the bushes or right here in Florida in the Everglades. Python is not that kind of snake. This snake can talk. And had to, for the woman's respond, the woman said unto the serpent, I mean, he understood her and she understood him, comprehend the same language. We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, see how Lord disappears now? God has said, because she knew who God is, even was at the time. She knew who the big God is and who the big little God is. See, the big little God is. She knew who the big God is, Lord, and who the big little God is, Lord God. Said, you should not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest ye die. How would they die? Not physically, not the second death. They would die off from their original righteous and moral selves and souls, and go right into the hell, into the arms of the Hillel himself. And that would be a first death, not the second death. They would die from being holy and become evil, unholy. In verse 4, the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die. So it didn't say ye shall not die. It said ye shall not surely die. That surely die is the second death. But she couldn't hear that. You couldn't read it because you didn't know it. It was a secret. Read it again. And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die. You're going to die, but you're not going to surely die. So he lied to her. He also told her the truth. See, he mixed the truth with the lies. That's why he's the tree of good and evil. Because he mixed truth with lies to confuse you. And then he mixed lies with the truth to deceive you. So ye shall not surely die. You're going to die, but not surely die. But she couldn't hear that. For God doth know in verse 5 that in the day ye eat thereof, eat what? See, for God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, he didn't even say what to eat. Then your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil, and that's true. That's why I said surely die. You mix the truth with lies. You'll be knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the tree of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. Both of them ate a particular fruit that come off a tree. Insomuch into this fruit will make one wise. It'll also make you desire to have something else. It will make your sexual desire enhanced and stimulated. You'll become more sexually motivated. And this is a particular fruit. It's a powerful fruit. But remember, this fruit is in the midst of the garden. This fruit is also connected to desire. This fruit, when you eat it, it will make you desire to be wise. It will also make you naked. Read the next verse, in verse 7. And the eyes of them were open, and they knew they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. See, after they ate this fruit was so sexually motivated and stimulating until it made them do something that they should not have done to create. That's the serpent. She should not have done what she did to the serpent in order to become impregnated. That means he had his shot with her first. After she became more stimulated and sexually desired from eating this fruit. The key word here is desire. D-E-S-I-R-E. Desire. So let's see if this was hidden. This is a secret now. Don't forget, I'm revealing secrets. You didn't know it. If you knew this, then I wouldn't be here to tell you today the secret. Would be no need for me to be here. You already know it. My father said I was 2,000 years or 1,900 years too early. So you residing here today with me on this planet, all those who reside with me today, you know of this fruit. Some of you have fruits and results of this fruit that you eat. But then everyone does not rely on this particular fruit to have fruits that come from the tree, your tree, man. But you must have the desire. But before you have the desire, you must also reside today while I'm residing on this planet. So look at your search box again, your Strong Concordance. If you write it, if you don't have one, you can write this down. Write down desire on your tablet. Desire. And let's type that. We're gonna, desire, D-E, I spell it, D-E-S-I-R-E, desire, 6 letters. Well, actually 5 letters. One of the 5 is positioned twice. That's the E. It's actually a vowel. And when you go to desire at your concordance, you see it occurs 111 times, King James Version. 111 times, 109 verses. Wow. And of all of those times, 111 times, there's only one verse that hid this desire of this fruit. And that would be in Ecclesiastes. As you can see, this word desire in English has a Hebrew meaning of falling under H 75:22 and 2 Chronicles and 26:55 and Nehemiah, Job at 3700 and chapter 14. See, many different meanings that they translated from the original Hebrew and gave you English desire. However, when you go to the second column that begins with Proverbs chapter 11, verse 23, you're going to come to Ecclesiastes. You're going to come to Ecclesiastes. And you got chapter 5. Actually, chapter 12 and verse 5. You have Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 5 that says, I quote, also when they shall be afraid of that which is high, and fear shall be in the way, and the almond tree, see, it's a tree here, the almond tree shall flourish, and the grasshopper shall be a burden, and desire shall fall. Desire shall fail. Why? Because man goeth to his long home, and the mourners go about the streets. So, because the man goeth to his long home, home is a residing place, to reside. So pause here for a moment and get your same pen or ink pen you have, pencil, whatever you're using to write with. And although you wrote down, you have desire, D-E-S-I-R-E. Now you're going to write it again, but this time you're going to go backward. You're going to write same 5 letters, 2 positioned twice. Actually, one of the 2 positioned twice. That's the E. So you're going to write down R-E, and you're going to bring the S-I in front of the E, and then you're going to bring the D-E in front of the S-I. And now you should have R-E-S-I-D-E. Reside. Same letters. Go back to that recording of Ma'av in 1986. It'll tell you that the man that's called Jesus was taught to be adroit, sagacious, and clever, and a master of words. That's what you should be looking for to return, the man who has those qualifications and those attributes. If you're looking for the Christ, that's who you should be looking for to have. In the meantime, when you go back to Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 5, and you look at desire in English, it takes you to reference H35 in Hebrew. And when you click on H35, it takes you to the copperberry, which is a stimulating desire. That's the fruit that he gave her. That's the fruit that the serpent gave the woman to stimulate her, to give her desire to eat from him, of him. And, today, though some men now they use wine or alcoholic beverages to seduce a woman, to take her mind away. Well, this copperberry fruit back in the days, it was very stimulating. Some people still use it today in the Middle East. And if you don't know what it looks like, then let's show them what it looks like, a capyberry. Let's go to your Google and just type in capyberry. Just like to have it there. Capyberry. The capyberry. And you may see a jar of it. Did you take it till you see a jar of it? Capyberry. You can find these in your local grocery stores, wherever you are watching this video, if you're in another country. Those in the Middle East know what it is. This is my people who've never seen this before. I'm revealing secrets from the garden. This comes from the garden. So you can grow these in the garden. That's what it was in the garden. Or from a tree in the midst of the garden. My father, way back in the days, had them believing, and still is true. See, there's more meanings than one. That tree in the midst of the garden bears more meaning than just one. He gave you the tree of the man's genitals, his sexual organ. That's true. Can't change that. But there's another tree that stimulated the sexual organ, which is the capyberry. You find it? You see it? Mm-hmm. Now, if you go to Wikipedia or your encyclopedias that I actually get before we got started, as we're getting started, I said, take out your encyclopedias. And if you go to your encyclopedia, I guess you could use your one online, you can use your encyclopedia online. Wikipedia, right? You can go to Wikipedia. And it should take you to a little history. It takes you to the plant. Takes you to a plant. Is that right? You see plants there? I'm following you. I'm on my computer. Okay. And as it does, you see where it's grown, mostly in the Middle East and Europe as well. And you have the description. It comes from another family of flowers and fruit. It tells you also what countries that they're in: Europe, Asia, Western Asia, Middle East, Egypt, Africa. But now go back to you. I just want them to see this, how it looks in a bottle or a jar. It's green, almost like olives. Go back now to your concordance. And where it says capyberry of stimulating, see, it's stimulating desire on the H35. So the key word here, and the most powerful word of the subject so far, is desire. With here, the capyberry. All right. Now look at the etymology under H14. Click on that and look at the etymology and see that he told her, "You will not surely die." But he had to get her consent. He did not want to rape her. See, some men today have just raped a woman, even if she says no, even if she's been intoxicated. Normal faculties are impaired. No, I said no. Next thing you know, he don't want to deal with the no, so he rapes and forces himself. But he knew, the serpent knew that if he soothes her mind, stimulate her a little bit with this fruit, And she becomes so relaxed, so horny, should you prefer, in layman's term, horny, that he can seduce her with her consent. And that is exactly what happened. Because H14 tells you, and that meaning that is to be willing and consent. Do you see that? And also to yield to and accept. Accept. Of course, the last being is to desire. So here's the fruit. Here's the fruit that comes from the tree, literally and symbolically. The literal tree of the capaberry tree fruit, and the symbolic tree of Satan and his tree. And as a result, they bear the fruit. She popped out a fruit. 9 months later, a fruit popped out named Cain. Go back now to the Bible. Genesis chapter 3. And that's how she become wise. She became wise in knowledge of what the tree is, what it can do, and how it made her naked, how she knew she was naked. And that's how Cain knew. That's how the man knew he was naked, and that's how she knew she was naked, because it stimulated her and him so much until they found out what the other tree was for and what her garden was all for. To plant his seeds in the garden. Let's prove it. We stopped at verse 7. Verse 8 goes, they sewed fig leaves together. In verse 7, and made themselves aprons. Verse 8 says, and they heard the voice of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day. They did not hear the Lord's voice himself. See, that would be the Lord only, all caps. That would be the Father. They didn't hear his voice. They heard the voice of the Lord God, the Son, walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God amongst the trees of the garden. And that is not true. That was not Adam and his wife. That was Adam and his wife. Did you hear it? I said that was not Adam and his wife. That was Adam and his wife. The first his is the serpent, the snake that goes his wife, because he was the first to go into her and made her his wife. Adam came along afterwards with another man's wife, or another beast's wife. The beast's wife, not Adam's wife. That was Adam's woman, but not Adam's wife. Secrets. That was the serpent's wife. The great dragon, that old serpent called the devil, that was his wife first. And then it became Adam's woman. She became woman. Go back to chapter 2. She was a woman. That's why she was taken out of man. She became a woman, not Adam's wife. She was supposed to cleave unto her husband, but she couldn't wait. She ate the wrong fruit of the tree in the midst of the garden and became stimulated and had sex with the serpent and got impregnated with Cain. And let's go to that. Let's finish this. Secrets. We're going to finish this now up to a point, because you got to get the desire. We're going to finish verse 8. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God amongst the trees of the garden. Verse 9. And the Lord God called unto Adam and said to him, where art thou? not like he didn't know. Like, peeping from behind the bushes. Yes, Lord, I hear you, but where are you? Where art thou? And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden. I wonder who he was talking to. Of course, the Lord God wasn't talking to himself. Must have been someone with him as they were talking. Who? His father. He was talking to his father. But his father, he was talking to his father, and he heard the son's voice only, talking to his father. So, and I was afraid in verse 10, because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, who told thee that thou was naked? Have thou eaten of the tree? Well, I commanded thee that thou shouldst not eat. So the commandment came from the Son, not to eat. Do not eat that copperberry. Because if you do, you're going to find yourself feeling a certain way, and you're going to go into this woman. I don't want you to do that yet. You're not supposed to do that yet. It's not time for that yet. It's time for you to study, learn who I am, get to know God, get to know who I am, your maker. And the man said in verse 12, the woman whom thou gavest to me. See, the woman, not the wife, the woman whom thou gavest to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. See, a tree. How could a woman give him a tree? See, that was not the sexual organ. That's a tree of the copperberry, and I did eat. The Lord God said unto the woman, what is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, the serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. See how the serpent beguiled me, gave me the fruit. He beguiled me, and I did eat that fruit. I did eat. He spoke to the serpent in verse 14. He also told verse 15, I'll put enmity between thee and the woman, between thy seed and her seed. In verse 16, he told the woman, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband. And here it is. Thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. And he is doing it now. He did it once in 2016. Actually, in 2016, he started. And now he's going to do it again. That's his desire, to rule over thee. And he's doing that. And that's her husband. So why you want to know why black women voted for Trump? Because that is their husband, the serpent, Halel. That's his desire. This desire has a totally different meaning. You don't have to go into it. You know it. Study it. Again, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. And now it's come to pass. He's doing it. Here you are in America, being ruled over your husband, ruled over by your husband. Eve, my black woman of Yehuda. Yeah, it is true. Now go to the next chapter, chapter 4 of Genesis. Let's prove who Satan is, whose right to rule it is. It was a secret. I was 2,000 years, well, 1,900 years too early, and I can tell it today because I'm right on time. In fact, before you go to chapter 4, let's prove that this desire is exactly what it is in other Bibles that they did not put in the King James Version Bible. They took it out. Go to your concordance before you go to chapter 4 of Genesis. Go back to your concordance, your blank search box, and right, type in robbery, ROBBERY, robbery. You have it? Robbery? Okay. You should see that 7 times. Now, the second from the first is Proverbs 21:7. And that says, and I quote, the robbery of the wicked shall destroy them because they refuse to do judgment. That's robbery. That meaning bears a Hebrew meaning of H7701. That means violently, violence, devastation. That's robbery. To ruin, destroy, etymology under 7736. That's robbery. Now look at the second meaning of subject in verse 8 of Isaiah chapter 61. Isaiah chapter 61, verse 8, I quote, I read, for I the Lord, see all caps? That's the Father. I the Lord love judgment. I hate robbery for burnt offering. And I will direct their work in truth, and I will make an everlasting covenant with them. Now this robbery under H 1498, 1498 is something plundered. And under etymology, under H 1497, it is to tear away, to be robbed, to be taken away. Robbery. And as we go to another meaning of subject under Ezekiel chapter 22 and verse 29, as I quote, the people of the land have used oppression and exercised robbery and have vexed the poor and needy. Yeah, they have oppressed the stranger wrongfully. Now, you see, this robbery bears the same meaning of Isaiah. However, they have vexed here. There is no V. There was no V in English. So where did the V come from? For vexed. That means that V was substituted as a euphemism for S. That should be S-E-X-E-D. S-E-X-E-D. And when we read it with S-E-X-E-D, it would read like this. The people of the land have used oppression and exercised robbery and have sexed the poor and needy. Yeah, they have oppressed the stranger wrongfully. So how do we prove that that was supposed to be an S opposed to a V for sex? Because the berry is hidden in the robbery. Go back now to your search box and you still have robbery. Right? The root word of robbery is rob. The root word of robbery is its prefix, which is rob. The suffix is bury. So now go back to Malachi for a moment, chapter 3. Go to Malachi chapter 3. Click on the rob. Just click on the rob, and it's going to take you to Malachi chapter 3 automatically, because this rob appears 8 times opposed to 7 with robbery. All in the Old Testament. In fact, that's the last meaning. Malachi chapter 3, verse 8, the rob. I quote, will a man rob God? Yet ye have robbed me. But ye say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings. I went over tithes and offerings. That's not literal. That's not what you think it is. But the subject is rob. When you click on this rob, under H6906, you have a meaning that's dubious. They have no idea what the rob is or what it was. But no etymology. So do you see it? The meaning is dubious. All they have is to rob, but they don't know what you're robbing. The reason why the meaning is dubious is because it was a secret. This rob is what they took from the tree of the berry, the kappa berry. That's what this rob was. They robbed the tree of the kappa berry. Go back to your blank spot. You have rob. Okay. Put the B-E-R-Y back. You have the BER, put the B, you have robbery, right? Okay. Now, separate the two B's. You have BERY. Well, take that first R, take it away and put it next to the other R in the berry. You did that? I mean, you left with OB and then BERRY, right? Okay. So you have OB and BERY in your search box. Okay. Now click on that and see if it takes you anywhere. Did it take you someplace? It did. Where'd it take you to? Nothing? Huh? It took you to what? Obadiah? Yeah, no, we don't want that. Go back to your search box. You got your search box? Which you had? You had OB and Barry. It took you to Obadiah. It did. If you see, we don't want Obadiah is not part of this secret. But it did take you to something. I mean, Obadiah, but what this does mean in hieroglyphic is that Obadiah knew what the berry was because he's Hebrew. He was a Hebrew prophet, or so-called prophet from Edom. Actually prophesied of Edom. Go back now to your search box and take out the OB to get rid of Obadiah. And just type in BERRY and go to that. See if it takes you to 4 different Bibles. Takes you to 4 different Bibles. Click on the first Bible, which is the CSB. See if it takes you to Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 5. It should take you to Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 5. It did. Now, if you do this on your own, I'm speaking to all those who are watching this video, you can exercise this on your own. You can click on all 4 of those 3 remaining Bibles, and all the remaining 3 are going to take you to Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 5. As I read that, I'm going to read that of the click on the NET. It's the same thing. I'm going to click on the NET. Same thing, right? The NET Bible. Got it? I quote, and they are afraid of heights and the dangers in the street. Am I reading it correctly? The almond blossoms, see, the other one had almond tree. The almond blossoms grow white. And in the King James Version, almond tree. And the grasshopper drags itself along. And the caperberry shrivels up. Why? Because man goes to his eternal home where he resides, RESIDE, and the mourners go about in the streets. All those 4 Bibles are going to have the same verse and same words, indirectly and directly. So there was all the time. That's the only place in the Bible where, in the King James Version, where desire is found under H35. That brings you to the caperberry. Now go back now, since we introduced and revealed that secret. Go back now to Genesis chapter 4. Let's see whose right the rule it is. Whose right the rule it is. Remember John 8:44, my aunt said, He whose right ruler is, who Satan is, John 8:44. Well, I will start at verse 1. Genesis chapter 4, begin at verse 1. And Adam knew his wife. And he did. Adam knew his wife, but that wasn't his wife. That was his wife. That's Adam. Don't forget, this is Adam's woman. You didn't know how to read the Bible before. This was all a secret. You just read it from word to word, literally. And Adam knew his wife. And he did. And he also knew who he was, as Lucifer, as Hallel, the devil. And as Adam knew his wife, and she conceived. See the semicolon after wife? She conceived from the serpent. And as she did, she bare Cain. And the next verse tells you that it was from the serpent and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord. What man did she get from the Lord? The man that she got from the Lord was Adam. That's who she got from the Lord. Not Cain. Cain was not a man. Cain was a beast of the devil. Now you see it as a reader. I repeat, and Adam knew his wife. It didn't say and Adam knew his woman or Eve. It said Adam knew Eve, his wife. If it was not, it would have been and Adam knew Eve, and she conceived. Why would you have to put his wife there as if Adam didn't know who his wife is or his woman? Now you see it. And Adam knew his wife. Who is his? The serpent. And as Adam knew, she conceived. Before she came with him and got with him, she conceived for the serpent. And because of that, it bare Cain and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord. Now let's prove that. First verse. Let's prove that. Go to 1 John now. In your Bible. Just put your mark here, although it's the first book. Go to 1 John. Somebody say I John. New Testament. And I believe we want chapter 3. 1 John chapter 3. Now I'm going to read begin at verse 7. 1 John chapter 3, verse 7. Little children, let no man deceive you, as they did. It's too late. They deceived you as little children. As little children, they deceive you as adults. They deceive you as adults. I said in Matthew chapter 24, verse 3, let no man deceive you. That's the first thing you should do. But here they are, little children. Let no man deceive you. He that doeth righteousness is righteous, even as he is righteous. Verse 8, he that committeth sin is of the devil. For the devil sinneth from the beginning in Genesis. For this purpose, the Son of God was manifested as Adam. That's confirmed in Luke chapter 3 and verse 38. Adam, the Son of God, was manifested. Why? That he might destroy the works of the devil. But he could not. He could not. What he did was he destroyed himself. You getting it? Verse 9. I mean, whosoever is born of God doth not commit sin. Why? For his seed remaineth in him, and he cannot sin. Why? Because he is born of God. He is born of God. Verse 10. In this, the children of God are manifest, and the children of the devil. Whosoever doeth not righteousness of God, neither he that loveth not his brother is not of God. Verse 11, for this is the message. This is a message that you heard from the beginning, that I'm giving you right now. From the beginning, you heard this message before. What? That we should love one another, one God, one mind, one love, one action. From the beginning, from 1979, even in Genesis. Verse 12, not as Cain, who was of that wicked one, and slew his brother. And wherefore slew he him? Because his own works were evil, and his brother's righteous. So marvel not, my brethren, if the world hate you. That's why. We know that we have passed from death into life. Why? Because God said, if you eat of that tree, we shall die. But the serpent said, God knows that you surely not die. You will surely not die. Because we love the brethren. He that loveth not his brother abides in death. Now go back to Genesis chapter 4. Now you know how Adam knew his wife. Who wife? The devil. The serpent. That was Adam's woman, the serpent's wife. I'm going to continue on in verse 2. See, Adam knew his wife, and she had Cain. And at verse 2, and she again bare his brother Abel. From who? Adam. And Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground, like his father. And in process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord, the big Lord, all caps. And Abel, he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And the Lord hath respect unto Abel and to his offering, but unto Cain and to his offering he had no respect, not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And the Lord said unto Cain, why art thou wroth? And why is thy countenance fallen? And see, this is the Lord speaking to Cain. But then the Lord went and told his son what was going on and what he had done to Cain. It became a secret between the father and the son. And verse 7. See, if thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. Now, this is Cain was given at this moment, he was given 6,000 years to rule, and he became the ruler. It was his right to rule, see? And thou shalt rule over him. That's whose right to rule it was. Cain, not Hillel, not Donald Trump Sr., but Donald Trump Jr. It's his right to rule. That's whose right to rule it is. That's Satan. Cain is Satan. That's whose right to rule it is. What? From desire. See the desire again? His desire. See, his desire is not the same desire as the woman had desire. His desire is to rule. Now you getting it? Secret. This was a secret. Now it's told. That's whose right to rule it is, right here in verse 7. Thou shalt rule over him. And how is sin lieth at the door? Because the door is now over in the east of the United States, the east coast of the United States. That's where the door is. However, from the Middle East is over in the west. So you have Sheen with a spaceship over the right Wav that represents the east. A Sheen. However, when Sheen or Shalomo or Shimshon or Shalom came over into the west with the door, then the spaceship over the west wall created a sin, S-E-N, sin. And now sin lieth at the door of the tabernacle. You got it? No one knew what this meant. Why? It was a secret. Sin lieth at the door. The door is Hey. You have Yod, Hey, Wav, Hey. You have Yod, Hey, Wav, Hey. Yod, Hey, Wav, Hey. 3 Hebrew characters, one position twice. Hey. The first Hey from the left. From the left is the door, the way, the truth, and the life. Sin lieth at the door to come in, to reside with the Son. Shalom. In the kingdom of Shalom. It is the most powerful knowledge of peace in existence. And that's different from the desire of the fruit. That's a different desire. In fact, when you go to this desire, go to your concordance and type in desire again. And this is the very first, actually the second desire in the book called Genesis in the beginning. But it bears the same meaning as the first desire. Under H669, which is actually H7783, to be abundant and to give abundance to. That's where it comes from. Is the etymology. To run after and rule over, overflow. To run after rulership, to overflow with rulership. Let's go back now as we close to this desire. See, my soul desired the first ripe fruit. That was my soul desired. The first ripe fruit, which would have been from Abel. But Cain murdered Abel. That would explain this. Now go to Micah. Go back to your search box. You don't have to go to the Bible. It's going to take you there. Go back to your search box where you typed in desire and put a D after E because it's past tense. This would explain the mystery. Only Micah can do this. Only Micah can explain what he meant by this in Micah chapter 7 and verse 1. Remember, Abel brought up fruit too. Remember the offering? Okay, and that's what my soul desired. Desired. It's going to take you, actually, there 50 times desired in past tense. Stroll down now until you get to Micah chapter 7. There's only one in Micah. Only one in Micah chapter 7, verse 1. You see it? Woe is me, Mem Yod, me, from Micah. I am Micah. I am Micah. And what else? I am as when they have gathered some fruits. As the grape bleeds of the vintage, there is no cluster to eat. There is not a cluster in here to eat of people, not even as they come to me and they refuse to. There is not a cluster to eat this daily bread. Why? Because my soul desired the first ripe fruit, which was Abel. That's who I desired, the first ripe fruit. Remember the fruit? See the fruit again? The fruit. The first ripe fruit was Abel. He was ripe from Adam. The fruit of Lucifer or Hallel was not ripe. It was spoiled and rotten, and that was Cain. Secrets. I'm the only one that can reveal that. So I'm no longer 2,000 years. Well, 1900 years too early. And that's a little bit more secret of Revelation. I took you to Revelation all the way back. I took you from the last to the first. And I took you back from the first to the last. And that was also explained as I close Matthew chapter 22, verse 14. Look at that. Matthew chapter 22 and verse 14. And I'm almost sure I got that right. See, because I promised this in the last days. Matthew chapter 22. And verse 14. Actually, it won't be many, of course, many are called, but few chosen. Many are called, but few chosen. But let's go to, I thought it was Matthew chapter 22. It's chapter 10. Looks like it's I think it's chapter 10 in Matthew. That's Mark chapter 10. It's Matthew chapter 19, verse 30. Matthew chapter 19. So it may have been another verse in 19, but verse 30 will do. But many that are first shall be last, and the last shall be first. But many are what? I took you to, I started you first at last with Revelation, and took you right back to the first with Genesis. Those many also represents scriptures and secrets of the Bible. Many scriptures and secrets that are last in Revelation, it takes you right back to the first in Genesis, like I just did today. So with that said, I want to say total to those who actually allowed me to take up, if you stay with us more time than I actually intended to, although we never time ourselves. We have forever. We come from infinity. So we don't schedule things like this. And neither do we bound ourselves to time. Sometimes it takes time to share this and to reveal time. So with that said, be safe, Judah. It's going to get really, really terrible here in this country. It really is. It was promised, prophetically promised that would happen. Go over Daniel chapter 12, verse 1 again. It's coming. I guarantee that it's coming. With that said, just do the best you can to stay safe. I've been telling you for years to stock up on water and food, gasoline. If you can, store it, and for your automobiles or even for your electric or your gas stoves, the cooking devices, save and stock up. Get a gas mask for your face. Every nose in your house should have one. Your household. It's going to get bad. I promise you that. Anyway, I'm Akia Harb. I love you forever. Shalom Aleichem.